First off, I want to thank you all for the amazing support you've shown to the podcast. If you enjoy what listening podcast summaries, please consider subscribing channel. Here is a rundown on this is what scares me most in today's America. The Method I Used to Stay Hopeful, featuring Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson by Jay Shetty. The conversation starts with a lighthearted moment, with Jay Shetty sharing a story about his sister, an optometrist in London, and how they've been inseparable since childhood.
Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson share a heartwarming story about their childhood, growing up in a small apartment in Chicago. They had to share a room, which was divided by a plywood wall built by their grandfather. Despite the small space, they would often talk through the night, sharing secrets and stories. One of their favorite memories is of a picture taken when Michelle was a newborn, with Craig sitting on their mom's lap, looking concerned.
Jay Shetty asked about the first secret they ever shared with each other, and Craig Robinson shares a story about discovering the truth about Santa Claus. They found empty boxes for boxing gloves in the basement, which led them to realize that their parents were the ones buying the gifts. They decided to keep the secret to themselves and played along, not wanting to disappoint their parents.
Michelle Obama shares a story about the value of family and how it was instilled in her from a young age. She talks about how they would often have family gatherings and celebrations, and how their grandparents would come over to visit.
Jay Shetty asks about the importance of birthdays in their family, and Craig Robinson shares that they would always celebrate birthdays, but they weren't a big deal. Michelle Obama adds that birthdays were a time to gather and celebrate, and they would often have dinner and cards for every birthday. Jay Shetty asks about an idea that they've had to unlearn since they were younger.
Craig Robinson shares a story about how he used to be obsessed with the fear of their house catching on fire, and how he would practice dragging his dad, who had MS, around the house in case of an emergency. He had to unlearn this fear as he got older and realized that it was irrational. Michelle Obama adds that they had to unlearn the idea that they had to be perfect and that it's okay to make mistakes. Their parents had to unlearn the fears that had been passed down to them from their own parents and grandparents, who had grown up in a time of deep segregation in Chicago. As a result, he never really got his own footing and had a limited view of the world. Michelle's parents actively pushed her and her brother to have new experiences and exposures, encouraging them to live beyond the fear that had been instilled in them. They would discuss the limitations and fears of their relatives around the kitchen table, and their parents would tell them to do better and live beyond those fears. Craig shared a personal story about being accused of stealing a bike by a police officer when he was 12 years old. The officer didn't believe him, even though he was articulate and didn't look like a troublemaker. Craig's mom stood up for him, and the officer eventually apologized. Michelle reflected on how that experience could have gone differently if their mom hadn't been there to advocate for Craig. Michelle talked about how she worries for people of color in the current climate, where leadership is making decisions based on bias and racism. She fears for her daughters and for people who may not have the same support system that she and her brother had. She worries about the collateral damage of being a young Black kid living in the city. Craig and Michelle discussed how they deal with that fear. Craig is trying to educate his young kids about the reality of racism and how to cope with it. Michelle practices reverse messaging in her own head, reminding herself that there are good people out there and that she can't let her fear and anger consume her. She believes in the importance of empathy and communication in breaking down barriers and understanding different perspectives. Michelle emphasized the importance of not becoming cynical and skeptical, even in the face of adversity. She believes that it's a duty as a citizen to assume that most people are trying to do the right thing and to use her platform to promote positivity and hope. Craig and Michelle are using their platform to share their experiences and lessons learned, and to learn from others through their show She Notes. Craig Robinson adds that he feels obligated to be a great parent as a tribute to his own parents, who made sacrifices for him to thrive. He emphasizes the importance of discipline, coordinated communication, and prioritizing his children's needs above his own passions. Michelle Obama also discusses the pressure parents face today, particularly in terms of ensuring their children's happiness and success. She argues that this pressure is often misdirected and that parents should focus on giving their children the tools to navigate life's challenges, rather than trying to shield them from failure. The conversation also touches on the importance of reprioritizing pressure and recognizing that love is not just about fixing problems, but also about setting children up to carry themselves and fix themselves. Michelle Obama notes that competence is a form of love and that parents should trust their children to make good decisions. Craig Robinson adds that friction is a necessary part of parenting, particularly for those who are prone to coddling their children. He shares an anecdote about how his parents were fearful of him traveling on his own, but still allowed him to do so, recognizing its importance for his development. The discussion also highlights the fear that many parents face when it comes to letting go of their children and allowing them to make their own decisions. Michelle Obama and Craig Robinson share their thoughts on the importance of seeking help and support as parents, and how it can be a valuable tool in navigating the challenges of parenting. Craig shared that he wasn't exposed to therapy until college, but eventually found it helpful in his first marriage and as a way to process his emotions. Michelle, on the other hand, grew up in a family that valued open communication and validation, which she believes is a form of therapy. She shared that her family's kitchen table was their first therapy session, where they would discuss their feelings and challenges. She believes that therapy is a form of coaching that can help people navigate transitions and shape their thoughts and emotions. Michelle also shared that she is currently in therapy, working through feelings of guilt and trying to set realistic expectations for herself. Craig shared that his guilt stems from feeling fortunate to have had the opportunities he's had in life, and feeling like he could have been one of the kids who didn't make it. He believes that his mom's influence and parenting style helped him develop a sense of responsibility and empathy for others.
Jay Shetty asked Michelle and Craig to share what they believe their mother would be most proud of about each other.
Craig shared that his mom would be proud of Michelle's ability to be a good parent and have a positive impact on many people's lives. Michelle shared that her mom would be proud of Craig's kindness, generosity, and commitment to being a good father and role model for young men.
Michelle and Craig expressed their gratitude and appreciation for Jay's support, and the three of them shared a heartfelt goodbye. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, check out YouTube channel, and just remember, subscription is only £1 or $1 per month. Leave a comment or review. Until next time, happy listening. News at night.